And joining us this morning in the studio for a preview of the PBA Commissioner's Cup playoffs is Sports Desk basketball analyst Juan Banal. Hi Juan, good morning. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Andre. It's an interesting quarterfinals, but before that, we still have a
do or die, that knockout match between Meralco and Alaska. The right to face, kung ang consolation prize sila, is to meet TNT, and TNT has that twice to beat edge. Okay, who has the edge here? The Aces or the Bolts? Because these two teams met in the eliminations. Alaska emerging victorious there, 93-89. But we'll get to that later, talk about yung nagpalit nga ng import yung pareho. It's a different story now, but who has the edge looking on paper? Meralco, Alaska?
I would say on paper, it's still Alaska. But Meralco means business because they replaced an import last minute and they want to win, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think Delroy James is a good pick. The kind of performance that he had in that game against NorthPort was a triple-double. And then this time around, 34 points. That was yung crucial 4 baskets pa against San Miguel. And that was against McCullough. So again, forcing McCullough a turnover. So he's an all-around player. Probably too late of a hero, but there's just enough time to maybe squeeze in Meralco into probably the next round.
I did mention, iba na nga yung storya ngayon because these two teams, when they last met, they had two different imports. They had imports, two different imports. Alaska had Chris Daniels, Meralco nga had Gani Lawal then. Now, the Aces have Diamond Simpson, he's back for Alaska, and then the Bolts have Delroy James, as you mentioned. In the import battle, looking at these two imports, who has the edge between Diamond Simpson and Delroy James?
I would say, if we're going to take it from the perspective of a team, I think Meralco desperately needs Delroy James. Diamond Simpson's role in Alaska is not really an arm and a leg type of dependency. He's really the kind of import that supports every player. You've got so many help from Vic Manuel and Chris Banchero. Unlike Meralco Bolts, on the other hand, they will definitely heavily depend on Delroy James and hoping that the rest of the locals will actually step up.
Okay, and the winner, as I mentioned, between this knockout match between Alaska and Meralco will face TNT, only one loss in this conference. Who has a better chance of beating this really good TNT squad with an import like Terrence Jones?
You know, you have to understand, if you put this in its context, you're coming in as the 8th seed in the quarterfinals against the #1 team with a super import in Terrence Jones. And the last time you guys met, both Meralco and Alaska met TNT, they were blowout games. And for different reasons. Like TNT won against Meralco because they outscored them tremendously in the third quarter. And of course, Terrence Jones, 49-18, 49 points, 18 rebounds. But Chris Newsom was a bright star for Meralco. And that's a crucial factor that will come into play when they move into the next round, which is Newsom stepping up. He had 32 points in that game. On the other hand, you have TNT versus Alaska. And Alaska in that game, surprisingly, had 27 turnovers. And TNT KaTropa took advantage of that with 39 points off the turnovers. So technically, Alaska lost to themselves. Like, they were the reasons why they lost against TNT. So if you're going to ask me who has a better chance against TNT KaTropa, if Alaska get their act together, then they have a bigger chance of winning against TNT.
Well, TNT, as we know, Terrence Jones, a former NBA player, he is a monster of an import, as you mentioned. He is the barometer of imports, especially in this conference, diba? Where TNT go, where he goes, that's where TNT goes. Is it safe to say, of course, with the top seeding, with the twice-to-beat advantage, whoever they will face, shoo-in ba sila? Are they safe? And we can assume that TNT can make it straight to the semis and maybe even go the whole way.
Maybe before the game even began, they have the upper hand already. They've dominated the eliminations. They're coming in with a twice-to-beat advantage. That already favors them to moving into the semifinals. But again, you cannot underestimate Meralco. They mean business. They changed an import in the last second. I mean, they could have gone with their previous import and say, okay, let's just finish this conference. But for you to change an import for the last 2 games, that means you're still trying to make your way. So may ano pa sila, may hunger pa that you can feel. On the other hand, Alaska, of course, still struggling. Have a lot of work to do. It's surprisingly how they're performing this conference, but they're more steady, I would say. That could be consistent for a formidable opponent against TNT.
Who among these teams, aside from yung pinag-usapan natin Meralco, Alaska, but who among the teams, in your opinion, can actually beat TNT, especially here in the playoffs?
Like you said, the barometer at the end of the day is still Terrence Jones. And if you take a look at the matchup, he is a super import in this conference because the problem before was Justin Brownlee in this Commissioner's Cup, right? He's a matchup nightmare.
Yes.
But Terrence Jones is a matchup nightmare now because he's a bigger size Justin Brownlee in the sense that he can put the ball on the floor, he can shoot from the outside, he can see the floor well and dish out assists. So now, but he's standing this tall. Justin Brownlee is so much shorter, so you can have locals guard Justin Brownlee. But now you're forced to have your big guys defend Terrence Jones. And I think San Miguel with McCullough has the height that could match up with Terrence Jones. The speed probably be there. I'm not sure about the strength factor. But if Terrence Jones is the barometer, in terms of import that can match up with him, it probably will be McCullough from San Miguel.
Now let's move on to the NorthPort versus San Miguel, the number 2 seed. Batang Pier against the number 7 seed, Beermen. I have to repeat that. Number 7 seed, Beermen. We have to get used to that in this conference. Are you surprised that NorthPort made some changes, traded away Pringle, got some pieces? Now they finished at number 2 here and have a twice-to-beat advantage against the San Miguel Beermen.
You know, a lot of talk around that Pringle, Ferrer, and Jervy Cruz and Sol Mercado trade. I would personally see, and this is my personal opinion, I would say that it was close to equal trade because, I mean, NorthPort's bench now got so much deeper with 3 additional guys compared to 1 guy in Stanley Pringle. And in this conference, Stanley had a lot of injuries. Even, actually, we have to include the first conference, that there were a couple of injuries that hounded Stanley Pringle. He's a perfect fit for Ginebra, but also for NorthPort, I think, with Ferrer and Jervy Cruz, who used to play for Coach Pido Arencio. They are a welcome addition. Just a deep bench now. Perfect addition to that Mo Tautua and Sean Anthony tandem.
How about San Miguel? Fresh off winning that Philippine Cup title, and then they're a tough team to, of course, to force to be reckoned with here in the Commissioner's Cup conference. They had Charles Rhodes back, and then they replace him with McCullough. Do you think they will be a different team now in the playoffs?
Yeah, definitely. McCullough is a I would say, a dark horse import that came out of nowhere and then started in the first game, scored over 40 points, and then immediately made himself known. And so now everybody's... I mean, if you're different, if you're other teams and you don't know who to look at, If you're looking at Terrence Jones or you're looking at McCullough and you're looking at Justin Brownlee, who do you actually prepare for? And it's such a great conference, I would say. The competition level, especially the kind of imports that have come in. And not to mention, Blackwater also is bringing in another import. So I think we're talking about that later on.
Yeah.
But again, San Miguel, the last time they met, it was a blowout win. NorthPort won that 121-88 and just dominated every single category in the stat sheet. And I think right now NorthPort is just dictating against San Miguel how the pace should go, and they should keep that coming into the quarterfinals. On the other hand, San Miguel Beermen will have to make NorthPort pay for every defensive mistake that they make. That means Marshall, Chris Ross, and Von Pesumal should be shooting as much as they could and making sure that it goes in.
Do you think NorthPort can protect that twice-to-beat advantage against San Miguel, or you think San Miguel can force the distance and then possibly, pull off an upset here, the 7th seed beating the number 2 seed?
And you have to understand, San Miguel just came from winning in the first conference, so every advantage that you can get, you'd welcome that. And NorthPort having the twice-to-beat advantage is definitely something that they probably would need. You don't know. You'll never know when San Miguel will just, heat it up and light it up. And I think out of all the quarterfinals, I know we have the Manila Clasico part of this quarterfinals, but NorthPort and San Miguel, I think, might be the most interesting. And most exciting match in the quarterfinals. It's going to be high scoring. It's going to be back and forth. It's going to be, high intensity, field goal based type of ball game.
Now let's move on to the number 3 seed, Blackwater Elite, facing the number 6 seed, the Rain or Shine Elasto Painters. It's a best-of-3 affair here for Blackwater and Rain or Shine. Now, do you think this series will go the distance?
I would. With the way that Blackwater, I think the secret to Blackwater's success, they're 3rd, and it's the best franchise record so far in the eliminations, and they came in 3rd. I think the secret is really chemistry and consistency for Blackwater. You've got a couple of players that will have superb games, like Roy Sumang. Out of nowhere, everyone's like blown away. Roy Sumang's playing, but it's not as consistent. Alain Maliksi also will have really nice games, but it's not consistent. The X factor, of course, will be Ray Parks. He has been that consistent player for Blackwater Elite. Yes, we all know he's a rookie, but he's a seasoned rookie, and that's what he brings into the Blackwater Elite, that consistency and maturity.
All right, these two teams met back in June too. Blackwater won, 98-92, pero similar to that, yung kanina natin pinag-usapan, iba din ang imports itong dalawang teams na to. Back in June too, it was Alex Stephenson and Denzel Bolts. Now, it's Greg Smith versus Carl Montgomery. Do these imports match up well against each other?
I would say I would have loved to pay to see Denzel Bolts and Stevenson. I mean, that they were the two very reasons why both of their teams were winning. They were really great imports, and then they get hounded by injuries and for other reasons.
Yeah.
Now you've got Montgomery and Smith. I think Smith by far in the franchise of Blackwater Elite. It's the best import that they've gotten so far. He's played already before in 2017. Numbers were superb, off the charts. Same numbers as close to what Terrence Jones or Justin Brownlee was producing. So with that matchup, I think Smith has the upper hand, but Rain or Shine is very unpredictable. You know, they are the lowest ranking team in three-point field goal in the whole conference per game. But they win because of their outside shooting. Like, they can burn you with, 17 three-pointers, but that's roughly around 70 attempts, you know? But that's still 17 made shots from the outside, and they can hurt you from that range. So I think it's very unpredictable. That's why I'm more or less leaning to a game 3 for both teams.
Clasico series. Do you think this will be the most entertaining playoff series this conference? Barangay Ginebra and Magnolia, walang may twice to beat. It's a best-of-3 series.
Yung president kasi was the eliminations Manila Clasico, and I would say that was quite disappointing only because it was a blowout win. Ginebra had a 102 win there against the 81-point output of Magnolia, but I mean, it started out so well. The first half, Magnolia started with a 10-0 run, I think, with Paulie leading the way, and then come second half, then the tides changed. You know, in the second half alone, I think Magnolia averaged 17 points for both the third and fourth quarter. Samantalang, on the other hand, you've got Ginebra who averaged 28 points. That's giving up around roughly 9 points from both quarters as an average. And so that actually hurt the Magnolia stint against Ginebra. But it will be, of course, when has Manila Clasico really disappointed people? I don't think so. So it's interesting. Ginebra will have that, of course, we'll still have Justin Brownlee because Magnolia took that risk of replacing Far as the import. And because that was 3 consecutive losses already for Magnolia, so you gotta press the panic button. So I don't know the kind of import that they took, and at the same time, well, Rakeem Christmas against in their last game, 8 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists. Not really a favorable number, but time and again, whenever you have an import who plays on the first game, si McCullough from San Miguel was a fluke, I would say, a rarity. That he scored almost 40 points on his beyond 40 points on his first game. But again, jet lag and all these other factors. So we're hoping that Christmas will bounce back.
All right, let's talk about the key matchup. Do you think it's that Christmas versus Brownlee matchup, or may nakikita kang matchup dito sa
I think they're going to match up different guys against Justin Brownlee. You've got Rome De La Rosa is a good guy to defend Justin Brownlee. The problem was in their game against Ginebra last time was the fact that they helped a lot. You know how Magnolia defense works? It's really a team defense. You know, I spoke to Mark Pinkers about it, and it's never a one-on-one type of defense. You're so confident in playing one-on-one defense because you know your guys are behind you. That's just the Magnolia philosophy, and I think that's a major factor why they had to replace Far, because Far was a little bit slow in the rotation. That's what they needed, the speed and the athleticism of an import that can play good defense. And so Ginebra, I think, to capitalize, they have to take open shots and they have to make those open shots. Magnolia loves rotating. Like, they love mismatches in defense once the defense breaks down. So when you have to make sure that you take advantage of that short window, that they make a mistake before somebody rotates right in front of you. And so their shooters will have to shoot. They have to make it. L.A. Tenorio will have to make it. Stanley Pringle will have to make it.
Last time these two teams met 2 Sundays ago lang. Bago-bago, July 7, you mentioned Tambak, nanalo Ginebra, but Justin Brownlee, 49 points. And you mentioned si Rome De La Rosa might be
An X factor,
to defend Brownlee. But do you think Brownlee can be stopped in this series?
I think you can slow down Justin Brownlee, but not stop Justin Brownlee. I mean, we've seen him not score for 2 quarters, be quiet for 2 quarters, and then overtime period, he explodes, And then against Colombian Jeep, he wasn't present during the 4th quarter, and Colombian Jeep would have taken home that victory with not that jump ball situation that caused the possession to go to Ginebra, and then Stanley Pringle makes that shot. But in the 4th quarter, it was rather in the OT, it was Justin Brownlee who took over. So I think you can slow down Justin Brownlee, not stop Justin Brownlee.
All right, hot seat. Pick ka lang. Magnolia, Ginebra.
I would say with the lineup that Ginebra and with the way they're playing right now, Ginebra is a very good half-court offense type of team. They lead the league in assists. You have Magnolia on the other hand. It's the highly defensive half-court team.
Okay.
Such a tough question, but I would say with the momentum that Ginebra has, it's on their side. And the risk that Magnolia took to replace an import, that might be an X factor coming this series.
Thank you, Juan. A pleasure having you here on the show. It will be an exciting quarterfinals and playoffs in the PBA Commissioner's Cup, that's for sure. Again, we just had PBA analyst and sports basketball analyst Juan Banal.